morning, everyone. Welcome to WRME Live. Christine just ran out. Sorry, we had someone come in. Hopefully, everybody's enjoying the weather. Supposed to have a nice, semi-warm day. Nice. So, another one of our agents just came in.
Welcome to WRME
I
Live.
already said that.
I was dealing with the door opening.
I told them. So, anyway. So, we're supposed to have a decent weekend day, if I recall right.
Decent weekend. I think today's high is 61, which I will take.
Depends on where you look at.
And she's checking the weather right now. But we all
I saw
know
one that said, 68. 75.
75 today, 72 tomorrow, 66 on Sunday.
So, yeah.
So pretty decent weather we got coming our way. And whether you're about to list or you're just got a yard to take care of, it's time to start thinking about that. Now, the big reason we need to note on the listing side is presentation is extremely important.
Yes.
You want people who drive by to feel it's welcoming, feel that it's presentable, and we get asked from time to time, what should we do about the front of our house? Now, I'm not going to... Curb appeal, big thing. But we're going to back away from the house itself and talk about the yard. When you decide to list your house, keep your yard mowed. Keep it weed-eated as best as you can. And even if it's not a weekend, if it needs mowing, you gotta mow it.
For the most part, I tell my clients to mow weekly if possible. Mm-hmm. I've had some people that their lawns just don't grow very fast, so we could get away with every other week. But if I was doing a broker's open or an open house, they'd go in and make sure to touch up so it was still presentable. So they might not mow every week, but they'd still go through and weed eat if any places needed weed eat, touch up, do that.
The biggest thing is when it needs it, you as the owner need to get it done or arrange for it to get done in a timely fashion. Because just because it's not Saturday doesn't mean you should wait till Saturday. The yard's going to get taller. It might rain. If it needs mowing today, you mow it today. But then there's also, besides just basic mowing and weed eating, there's also, what do you have? Shrubs. Keep them tidy. Or if they're dead, rip them out if you can. Some people can only cut it off at the stump and put a nice pot on top of it.
Or just trim them up, pull weeds.
Get the dead limbs out of the trees.
Refresh your rocks if you have rocks, your mulch if you have mulch. You know, you want it presentable.
There is a healthy, fairly affordable method to sprucing up the front of your house. Some of it is just labor intensive. Mow your yard, trim your shrubs, put the dead limbs, chip them up, bind them, put them with your dumpsters for trash day. But there are a few folks that go a little bit overboard that on a modest house, 100 to 150, they go spend thousands of dollars on fancy shrubs when in reality, just make it clean and presentable. You could spend $50 at Lowe's and still have a heck of a nice flower bed for an average house.
And another thing while you're out there cleaning yard, taking care of the limbs, cut limbs away from your roof.
Yes.
Or any bushes you have up against your house, go behind them and make sure there's a decent little gap between the shrub or the bush or the tree and the house. And you don't want limbs touching the roof.
Whether you are listing your house or not, that's just good home maintenance to keep things from possibly causing issues with your roof. And so trees, good trimming, hedges as well, keep them shapely, and then even just the flower beds. If you don't do flower beds, rip it out, put in rocks. Put some weed barrier down first to keep some living things from making it through, and put down some rocks. If you don't have that kind of time, money, or energy, you can still scrape the weeds off the top.
Yes, or weed killer.
Or
if
weed
you don't
killer.
Have time.
Buy a bag of basic soil, lay it down, put some petunias in there, and then wood mulch. $50 later, you've got a decent little semi-presentable flower bed, assuming you have a reasonable size flower bed. I've met people that have Like my grandmother, I bought my late grandmother's house, as you guys know, and there's a whole row, the length of the property, that was a flower bed that I now have to figure out how to take out because it's red rock and nature has eaten it. And so I can't just spend $50 and get a nice presentable flower bed. So I can't say that's everyone's, but if you have a normal house with a normal flower bed, a couple of bags and a cheap set of petunias, which by the way, Lowe's has a clearance section. So as long as the flowers look pretty for a couple of weeks, it might be worth the clearance section to kind of just spruce it up.
Well, another option, if you're like me and you can kill a cactus, I've ripped out bushes on one side of my house and we're going to put down some nice decorative rock. We chose the volcano red rock because it looks good with our brick.
Okay.
And I'm going to put solar lights in it every so many feet away. And then the other one, we have some blooming trees my husband loves. And we're going to take out the bush in the middle of those and put something in. But we're also going to do the rock on the bottom of those and just have the 2 blooming trees in front of the house. Easy maintenance. We just have to trim up the trees occasionally and water it if we have dry summers. But they're pretty resilient. So
That does
really
bring up,
easy maintenance for someone who can kill anything.
that does bring up the note about decorations in the yard. I love the solar light idea. It's a practical decoration.
Lights are pathway. We keep the garage lights and stuff on, but that little strip from in front of the garage to the door, it lights up the sidewalk a
There
little
are
more.
some folks that over ornament, and there's some people that just don't tastefully ornament. I have a buddy who has a gnome collection, and some of them are quite not family friendly, but he has no intention of selling his house anytime soon. And if I ever find out he's about to list his house, I'm going to tell him to box up his gnomes.
Well, and we do that anyway, whether it's inside or outside. When we go on a listing appointment or talk to somebody about potentially listing their house, we always go over cleaning up the yard, decluttering, what needs to be put up or what's okay. And that's helps you know if you got a little shed out back and it's surrounded with bikes or whatever that you repair or keep, we're going to say, hey, we need to straighten that up to make it look more desirable and presentable.
We want people to be able to walk in, look at your house, look at your yard, look inside your house, and go, I can see this being my home.
Yes.
And certain things are just naturally distracting, like a pile of bicycles by the shed. Now, if they're organized, they're less distracting
Right.
than a pile. Because if they treat their bikes like this, how do they treat the house like this? But if the bikes are all organized, less red flags, less things piquing concerns.
We've all had those clients that drive up to the front of the house, they look at the house, and they're like, nope,
No.
they don't even want to go in.
Yeah, that's how it is some days.
So unfortunately, you think, oh, it shouldn't matter for them, but it does to some.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to stay on top of that.
What is it? The best foot forward whenever able. So maybe it's worth it to you to pay someone while your house is listed to have someone else do the yard because you got to move to Arizona and you got other things to deal with. But now's the time to be thinking about that and maybe justifying that expense so you can focus on what you have to focus on.
If you plan on selling in the future, start now.
Mm-hmm.
Start doing basic maintenance, upkeep. That way, when it's time, there's less you have to go in and do.
Yep. The last thing you really want to have to do is, it's a week before listing. You've had all year to figure this out and you hadn't done any of your front flower beds. I got to work with a future client about their flower beds. It's been 7-8 years they've lived in this house plus, and it's gone to pot. And it's going to be a $500,000 house.
And
you're
the
just
last
like,
thing you want to worry about is the yard when you're stressing out about getting stuff packed up and decluttering and straightening and doing, moving into the minimal life living when you're trying to sell the house.
Yep. So you got to always weigh your priorities. Maybe it's worth taking that expense to have someone else worry about it instead of you. That's many things you got to keep in mind in the process. But we'll try and talk on some more topics that round around that, hopefully next week or the week after. We'll see. But in the meantime, comment, post,
If you
questions,
want to hear us
concerns.
talk about something.
Oh, and Carl's doing fine. Thank you for asking. Let's see. Anything else?
Good morning, Kay.
Oh, hi, Kate. And Oh, I know there's something else, and I'm just drawing a blank. We'll probably think of it next week and be like, oh, though, by the way.
Have fun, get some sun.
Oh, yes, enjoy
the
some sun.
weekend.
Sunscreen. Just because it's still chilly, I burn. You mocha, I fry. Okay. Thank you guys for joining us at WRME Live, where we do real life, real world